Hello, my name is Sean Reeves and I'm the pastor of the Underwood church, which is in Logan on the south side of Brisbane. Pastor Ben has asked me to share a couple of words to do with my faith journey and my experience pioneering a church that has now grown over the past 7 years. And I just want to express appreciation to Pastor Ben for the opportunity to share some words, but also just gives you my love as a church. I know some of you personally, and I just want to express that we're praying for you guys. Obviously, lockdown isn't good. We are in one as well right now, but you've been in one for, it seems like weeks. It's growing and growing and growing, and I don't know when the end is going to be, but I just want to encourage you to keep the faith and keep pressing on with all that it is that God really wants to do in the Hornsby Church. But look, for me, I've been a Christian now almost 15 years, and over that period of time, God has completely transformed my life. I came into the church, a troubled teenager, really a rebel without a cause, and I rapidly began to grow because I got converted. I didn't just have a religious experience or some encounter with Jesus that was hype or emotion driven. My life began to radically change, and He broke addictions. He changed my physical appearance, the way that I spoke, the way that I processed so much of life. And He even began to heal deep wounded issues that I thought I was going to live with for the rest of my life. And I'm grateful that God had done that. I'm coming up to 14 years of marriage. I got married about 5 weeks after I turned 19. And so I was young in the faith, newly married, was still young, and then got involved in all sorts of different ministries and felt the call of God to preach. But the reality is, you might see me speaking right now and I have a clean face, a clean haircut, I'm wearing a collared shirt. You might think, well, maybe he was raised in an environment, or he was really intellectual at school, or he had it all laid out for him and he would naturally step into some sort of communication-based role. It's the complete opposite. When I felt the call of God to preach, honestly, I was so fearful. There were times that I would go and hide out the back so I didn't have to open in prayer at church, or I would run from opportunities to share testimonies in concerts, or even hold the offering basket and pray. I was really fearful. And fear became a bit of a staple, a bit of a hindrance to my momentum moving forward. And so many times when I wanted to be used by God, fear held me back. And so when I felt the call to preach the gospel, it was something I really ran for, honestly, for about 18 months. I just rejected it. I didn't want to live it out. I didn't want to embrace it. There was a part of me that cared for people and wanted to pursue it for that reason. But I didn't want to be the person that stood behind a pulpit or led Bible studies or did things where I had to hold a microphone. I was actually really, really afraid. It took several years really to deal with that. And although I knew it was a spirit, I knew it wasn't of God. I had things in my heart that I just personally, I wasn't willing to let go of. And ultimately that was prideful. I got to a place where I let God deal with that, and He did some deep heart surgery on me. And I surrendered it over to God and said, all right, God, I'm going to step out, but you're going to have to do what only you can do and build the church and equip me, because I feel so unqualified. But when I went out and I began to give myself to what I knew God had called me to do, He never let me down. Yes, of course, there was fear that popped up. There was insecurities and anxieties and all sorts of isolations and thoughts that begin to often overwhelm you. But as I kept surrendering it over to God and just posturing my life to be an instrument that He could use and pursuing Him the only way that I knew could, which was just with complete surrender, He always met me at that place, and He blew my mind over and over again. When it comes to the dynamics of pioneering the church, the reality is I didn't know what I was doing. I was putting sermons together, I was preaching them, I was outreaching, I was following up, and God began to build a church. It's kind of a bit cliche, you do what you know to do, and it works, because what we do works. And I am living proof that God can use absolutely anyone. I was a high school failure, and I had no real job prospects or opportunities to pursue secondary education. I wasn't considering any of that, but I gave myself to the call of God, and God has equipped me And this church has grown. It's incredible. We started in a small little rinky-dink hall. We had no air conditioning, no toilets, possums in the ceiling. Homeless people would break in and sleep in our building. But 2 of our key couples actually got saved in that building. We relocated into a new building, and God began to draw people left, right, and center. He began to give us miracle money. And now 7 years on, the church is completely self-sustaining. I've been able to leave secular employment. I'm a full-time pastor of that congregation that I began pastoring 7 years ago from scratch. No one in that little hall besides my pregnant wife and me. Couldn't sing, I couldn't play any instruments, didn't know what I was doing, but I was available and I trusted God. I studied out what needed to be studied. I was dedicated to preparation behind the scenes, but God really did build His church. I'm super pumped by what God's done, and it's given me great confidence that God is capable of anything. And so for you, whatever it is that you feel God is prompting you to embrace, maybe it's ministry of some capacity, maybe it's stepping out of your comfort zone completely. I want to encourage you, if God is calling you to step out of the boat, you'll walk on water. If God is calling you into an arena that you feel unqualified for, but you're available, well, He'll qualify you and He'll make you effective. God is the God of the impossible. And whatever arena God is calling you to go, if you would go in faith, He'll blow your mind and you'll have a great sense of purpose and fulfillment like no other way possible. And so look, I'm grateful that I can communicate with you virtually, and hopefully you've been encouraged or inspired just a little bit to get through today. But until I see you face to face, God bless you. We're praying for you in Hornsby, and take care.